In a profession where men die young, one would be well advised to fear the old man. Hello everyone, my name is Pestolents, and this is In the Bay. Today we are going to be covering a venerable war machine specifically made for the Star League and nobody else. This venerable machine is the AS7-D-HT Atlas 2. When the Atlas, 1, was commissioned, the venerable Alexander Kerensky made a very specific request to his engineers, and I quote, "A mech as powerful as possible, as impenetrable as possible, and as ugly and foreboding as conceivable, so that fear itself will be our ally." Well, to Alexander Kerensky, I think they got this one right. Because when they came out with the Atlas 1 chassis, even though it was using off-the-shelf technology, standard chassis, standard armor, standard heat sinks, just the image of this battle mech striding across the field would make any other mech warrior's blood run cold, even those piloting other assault mechs. And after only 10 years of service, Alexander Kerensky went back to those same engineers and said, "Did a great job, but now make one for the hegemony Royal units only for us." And they came up with this machine, the Atlas 2. As powerful of a machine that they built before, they raised the bar, coming standard with a Gauss rifle, LRM-20, SRM-6, 2 ER large lasers, and 2 medium pulse lasers, and enough armor that just the armor itself would outweigh other battle mechs of smaller varieties. This thing was war incarnate. I'm surprised they didn't name it Mars. All Atlas 2 pilots that were alive and still walking during the American Civil War abandoned their posts to follow Kerensky. That's how dedicated these pilots were. That's how just outstanding and powerful this mech is compared to all others. Yet there were still a few of them that managed to get salvaged off the battlefield. And let's look at one of them today. This is my build for the Atlas 2. Now, I did a deep dive on all the technology that you see in front of you here. So let's get started with this Gauss rifle, which is more compact and lighter weight than any other Gauss rifle you will find on the market. It is of Star League era and design. The serial number on the side simply reads SCI, and whenever we do a deep dive into the records of the Star League to try and find out who manufactured this incredibly powerful and compact weapon of the Star League era, the trail kind of goes cold. So let's go over these stats, and then we'll get into the possible candidates of manufacture. This Gauss rifle will reach all the way out to 660 meters, firing a slug at hypersonic speed using magnetic propulsion, fed by 2 tons of non-reactive ammunition. This weapon will provide for 16 combat turns of fire. So it's not ammo starved, thank goodness. We don't want that. You've got to have a minimum of 10 rounds of continuous fire. This weapon with 75 points of damage and 5 points of stability damage can take the cockpit off of any mech one shot, all by itself. Too bad it weighs 13 tons. Can't put more on there. Going into the possible manufacturers, the Imperator Automatic Weaponry makes the Gauss rifle for the AS7-K Atlas, which is a Kurita variant, but the only world manufacturing these autocannons is in Merrick Space, right up by Steiner, near the Steiner border. They were around during the era of the Star League and were making Gauss rifles, but they don't have any schematics for this style of Gauss rifle, nor do they have any records, allegedly, that they supplied Gauss rifles for any Atlases at the time, because the AS7-K came around during the Secession Wars. Blackwell Corporation also manufactures Gauss rifles. They manufactured Gauss rifles from the Secession Wars all the way today, and they're stationed on the planet of Outreach, which is less than 25 light years from Terra itself. Blackwell Corporation is possible manufacturer of the Gauss rifle on the Atlas II, and also a possible manufacturer of this very Gauss rifle. But that brings us around to another candidate, and the one I personally like myself. Yankee Weapon Systems, which is located on New Earth, the very first planet settled outside the solar system, only 20 light years from Earth, and definitely part of the hegemony. It also, currently today, makes a thin version of the Gauss rifle, which it's thinner in case, but it has a longer barrel. But they also make one that's standard size that is also lightweight. One being the long barrel and the other one being the grizzled 210. If they have these capabilities now, it stands to reason that this Gauss rifle from the Star League era, mind you, weighing 2 tons less than a standard Gauss rifle and taking up 1 critical slot less than a standard Gauss rifle, is very possibly one of Yankee Weapon Systems design. But we do not have any hard evidence today of that relationship. We just know that Yankee Weapon Systems and Blackwell Corporation were both in the hegemony making Gauss rifles at the time of the Star League, and so was the Imperator Automatic Weapons Corporation. But they're way out in Merrick Space. Just saying. Going to the Gauss rifles partner, which is underslung coaxial Imperator Automatic Weaponry UAC2, or Ultra Autocannon 2. This Ultra Autocannon 2 gives superior punching power with 10 extra points of damage, while also being lightweight, weighing less than, or 2 tons less than its standard counterpart. Notice that name, Imperator Automatic Weaponry, shows up again. That's why I like them for making the Gauss rifle. Just saying. There's some sort of relationship there. But the trail does go cold. But we're going to move on. Moving on to its support weapons, mounted primarily in the chest here, are Valiant Systems SRM 6-packs. Not one, but 2 of them. One of which, one SRM 6, does come standard on the left hip of the Atlas and Atlas II. I have replaced the LRM-20 that is normally in the high up on the left torso with an additional SRM-6. Yes, it's a matched pair so that it can get weight in there to medium range and really deliver that knockout 1-2 punch. All the explosive ammunition in this mech is also housed, however, in that left torso. So which side do you protect? The left torso with all the explosive bits? Or the right torso with that absurdly expensive Gauss rifle in it? The decision is yours. I personally like to wrap them both in lots and lots of armor. But that's just me. Feeding these SRM-6s are not 1 but 2 tons of ammunition, giving you 16.7 turns of continuous fire. Now, I know what you're saying, Pestilence, 16.7 turns. It's on your 17th turn, you're going to get 1 full SRM-6, and then basically you're going to shoot out an SRM-2 out of the other one. So you can do with that information what you like. But you're going to have enough ammunition to get stuck in and brawl for at least 10 turns, which you would not have if you only had 1 ton of ammunition. Moving on to the ammunition for the AC2, or the UAC2, that gives you 12.5 turns of continuous fire. So on the 13th turn, you're only going to shoot 1 instead of 2. That's okay, though, because you're only going to get heat for 1. Moving on to diverse optics, medium class lasers. Now this is something special here. I really like the diverse optics medium lasers because just like the Magna manufacturer large laser that I talked about in my previous episodes, the diverse optics medium lasers give superior accuracy all the way out to 270 meters, and even more accuracy yet if they are mounted in the arms. So +3 accuracy coming from the lasers themselves, +1 accuracy coming from being mounted in the arms. So for the 4 diverse optics medium lasers mounted in the arms, you basically get a +4 accuracy. It's really good for headhunting. Could you put in a harder hitting medium laser? Of course you can. Magna Manufacturers produces a medium laser that produces 35 points of damage per laser versus the 25 that you see here. And they do it for the same heat, but lower accuracy, much lower accuracy. And if you're going for headhunting, you want the higher accuracy. But if you're just going for pure punching power, and you're trying to get over that 600 points of punching power, that's how you do it right there. Or, yet again, you can really double down because you're Scrooge McDuck with all the money bags, and you can put in medium pulse lasers. But you got to remember, medium pulse lasers weigh twice as much as a standard medium laser. Let me show you one here. A standard medium pulse laser with unknown manufacturer, that's what SCI means, unknown Star League era manufacturer, weighs 2 tons. But it does 40 points of damage, and you can get medium pulse lasers that do even more damage than that, or have higher accuracy than that. I happen to have one here that has +1 accuracy and an additional 10 points of damage. That's not listed on its bonuses. Just pointing it out. Now, I have chosen to give my mech an additional capabilities other than just the medium lasers, which we'll cover later. Moving on from the diverse optics medium lasers, again, superior accuracy at a relatively low heat package. That's why I replaced the ER large lasers that are supposed to be housed here with the 2 medium lasers, because I like to get stuck in with the brawling. Moving on to the Blaze Fire extended range small lasers made by Johnson Industries, and they're out of Davian Space. They're only made on one planet, but they're still being made today. That being said, these small lasers, well, they're going to cost you as much as a single double heat sink. And they're under current manufacture. They're just really rare. But man, they're good. 40 points of damage all the way out to 150 meters. You're more likely to find these things in Davian space. Just like the diverse optics, you're more likely to find those in and around Merrick space. Also, the Draconis Combine has some up in the Rosselhog region, but that's on the galactic north. Speaking of Davian space, the Valiant System SRM-6s, which I have installed here, those are found primarily in Davian space. They're made on like 3 different planets, all in Davian space. Like maybe sometimes there's one over in Merrick, but that's a sometimes thing when they're friends, I guess. That there's more to it than what I care to go into. Moving on, I gave my Atlas a really great upgrade. I went over and visited Coventry Metalworks and bought not 1 but 2 arm mods. The first one is a standard arm mod, the X65, and all this does is spreads out the wiring harnesses that feed the monomer muscles. It replaces the bushings in the shoulder, elbow, wrist, and hand, if you have hands, with roller bearings that produces a smoothness and ease of operation that you will find at no other arm modification. This is one thing I really like about this arm modification. It doesn't add any weight because you're taking one component out and replacing it with another one. That's all you're doing. But by doing that, there is a noticeable increase in performance. And in game mechanics terms, this produces an additional 10 points of melee punching damage. But I paired it with something. What did I pair it with? I paired it with the Coventry Metalworks Alpha arm modification. Now what this does is replaces the standard Moiramer muscle bundles with overdriven triple strength Moiramer muscle bundles. Now these, while having the same volume, they are denser. So you are going to add an additional ton to your mech just for that punching power. But that punching power is significantly increased. And we're going to break down the numbers towards the end of the video. But this is how I got to it. So just keep that in the back of your mind. Now, this mech, just like all Star League Royal unit specific chassis, comes standard with upgraded double heat sinks in its engine. So it's already going to run cooler than its standard single heat sink counterpart, the AS7-D. That being said, I have upgraded this with 3 additional Star League era double heat sinks. One in the right torso, one in the right leg, and then I normally put this in the left leg, but it got moved to the left arm. I hope it'll do fine there. I'm telling myself it'll do fine there, because that's the only place I could move the 3 empty critical hit slots that I had, and I'll tell you why I didn't use it there in a bit. And that's because I moved it to the left arm to fit the Rawlings Omega self-damage mitigator leg mod into the left leg. And what this does is it helps the battle mech reduce self-damage during a death from above or misjump or fall damage. Now, the reason I like Rawlings is because Rawlings exclusively makes jump jets and other jump jet related paraphernalia. It makes upgraded leg actuators. It makes upgraded leg mods such as the one I have here. And because this leg mod system again replaces equipment that you already have, but specifically designed for mitigating falling damage and mitigating DFA damage or self-damage from DFAs. It's at 0 extra tonnage to your mech. It just takes up some critical hit slots. That's why the double heatsink got moved to the left arm. Sorry, I couldn't put it anywhere else. Now, on to the last real whiz-bang thing that I did here, and that is not 1, but 2 thermal heat exchanger Mark IIIs. Now, the thermal heat exchanger Mark III, each one gets rid of 20% of your Alpha Strike heat off the top. So, for every single weapon that you fire, subtract 20% of the heat off the top. And then you put in the other thermal exchanger Mark III, and it will also mitigate an additional 20% off the top. They go on a stack. You don't add them together then subtract. It's minus 20%. You sum that up and then you subtract another 20%. But still, that's like 38% when it's all totaled up off the top of the heat that every single one of your weapons fires every time it fires. And then once you get that heat in, then you subtract your heat sinks from the total heat. And when you do that, you will get your heat efficiency, which is up over here. Notice how high it is. I only build 17 points of heat if you're firing every single weapon during an Alpha Strike. Just saying. 23 if you do an Alpha Strike and also jump. That's right, I gave this mech jump jets. That's why I also gave it this leg mod down here. These jump jets are assault class jump jets. They weigh 2 tons apiece. So if you decide that, you know what, Pestilence, I want additional punching power, I really don't need the jumps. Hey, that's fine. Right there, 6 tons that you can reallocate throughout your mech. For example, you can then delete the diverse optics medium lasers and put in medium pulse lasers. Your heat efficiency is going to go down, way down, but you're going to be punching significantly harder with the lasers. But that's okay, I like my jumps. And the reason I like my jumps is because I like to be able to start putting the pressure on at long range with the Gauss rifle and UAC-2, and then once I get into 270 meters all the way down to 151 meters in that magic area, I'm going to be doing almost all the damage. Because I'm still going to be firing the Gauss rifle, I'm still going to be firing the UAC-2 because it has no minimum range. The Gauss rifle has a minimum range, but the UAC-2 doesn't. And then I'm going to be rolling the twin SRM-6s. And then I'm going to be rolling the 6 diverse optics medium lasers. And I'm going to be looking for that cockpit. No questions asked. I'm going to be looking to pop that cockpit. That's why I went with the additional accuracy. And in order to be doing those precision strikes, I have installed the Star Corps Dalabon Comline Communication Suite. And what this does is it upgrades your damage readouts for friendly units, your damage readout for your targeted unit. It upgrades the damage readout for the battle mech that you're in. It also upgrades your battle grid display so that you can more easily read the battle grid, because an informed pilot is a deadly pilot. Remember what G.I. Joe said, knowledge is half the battle. The other half is extreme violence. They don't ever tell you that, but I am. Knowledge is half the battle. Information is worth more than ammunition, and because of that, I'm going with the Star League era Star Corps Dalabon Com Suite. Now, the reason I know this is a Star League era manufacturer is because at the time of the hegemony, These were manufactured in 3 different places on Earth. That's right, on Terra. To this day, one of those manufacturers are still cranking these bad boys out. Since then, they've been able to expand. They're also being made in Davian space. So if you're a Davian player and you're looking for a really good comm system that ups your resolve, a easy million C-bills per, but they're the best. And honestly, the Atlas 2 only gets the best in my opinion. Now, according to the game, I cannot get Rawlings jump jets. If I could get Rawlings jump jets, I would use them. Unfortunately, all I can find are generic manufacturers, but that's all that Rawlings produces. I like to match my equipment, so I put the Rawlings leg mod with the Rawlings jump jets. That's just the way I am. That's why I use the Coventry Metalworks Alpha arm mod with the Coventry Metalworks X65 standard arm mod. You put those together for an additional 70 points of punching power, not including what you're going to get from the standard punch that your mech is going to dish out. That's going to be added together. We're going to cover that in a second. But you're also going to get your point defense weapons firing off, which, as I mentioned before, are the 4 Blazefire ER small lasers. They're only produced on one planet. It's in Davian space. So if you want to find them in the game, the best place to go is up into Davian, no, up in or near the Davian space territories. So now that I have covered how I built my mech, this is why I built it the way I did. I have optimized this mech for the Brawl because its stock role is long-range firepower and then Brawler. This mech just wrecks face in its stock configuration. This is its stock configuration. 2 pulse lasers, 2 ER large lasers, an AC-20, LRM-20, SRM-6, and a bunch of heat sinks, all standards. I have optimized it, at least in my opinion. Going across the firepower, 599 points. There aren't any battle mechs that can stand in front of this battle mech for very long at 599 point alpha. It's going to be significantly less than that if you're at 151 meters or more. But as soon as you cross that 150th meter, you're getting an additional 160 points of laser fire, specifically from the ER small lasers. I'm just saying. Those things are awesome. Moving on to movement speed. Movement speed is standard. 95 meters of walking speed, 165 meters of sprinting speed. But because I gave my mech jumps, you get a 120 meter jump. You can cross most rivers with 120 meters. You can scale up the side of a cliff at 120 meters. And because you don't have to walk around, you don't need as much long-range firepower, because you can close that distance and keep the pressure on. Moving on to its durability, it's almost got maxed out durability. That being said, I did shave 0.75 metric tons of armor off of this mech. 5 points from each side torso rear, 30 points from the center torso rear, but again, that's still more armor than most battle mechs have, even on their front. And then an additional 10 points off of each leg. Now, why only 10 points off of each leg? That's easy to tell you. Any place you're going to stick this battle mech, I guarantee you're going to be stuck in the fire. You're going to be attracting fire. Even though you don't take a lot of fire to your legs, that adds up over time. And I prefer to keep my double heat sinks wrapped in nice thick armor. Moving on to its heat efficiency. I got those numbers as low as I could. I could get them lower if I got rid of the jump jets, because I wouldn't have the heat from the jump jets, and I could stick an additional double heat sink in here. And I would also have enough room to put on 5 out of 6 pulse lasers. Just saying. Just going to leave that there. I could then move double heat sink in the arm back down to the left leg. Actually, I'd probably put 2 more double heat sinks if I'm putting 4 pulse lasers on this thing. Again, just saying. Because I'm going to need the heat efficiency wherever I can get it. Moving on to average range. Average range, the calculation says optimal range is 205. I say nay. Optimal range is 150 meters. That's where you can bring in those small lasers and start getting yourself warm. At 205 meters, your mech is still going to be running cool because you're not going to be firing for ER small lasers. You're going to be running at a heat deficit. Even jumping, you're going to be running a heat deficit. But due to that Ultra Autocannon 2, you can reach all the way out to 720 meters and give your enemy a good old double tap. If they're at 660 meters or below, you got the Ultra Autocannon 2 and the Gauss rifle to really give him that hit upside the head, hopefully, and wake his ass up. Oh, wow, this guy's serious. Poof. Then he decides to close in once he gets into medium range, and all hell breaks loose. Then he goes, oh, wow, man, I got to close in because he can't keep that up forever. Look at all those lasers he's firing. He closed into 150 meters or below, and now I fire even more lasers. And that's when the steam starts rolling off this mech. So you're like, oh, man, he can't keep that up forever. And all of a sudden the firing stops. And that's when you know that you messed up. Because then that is when melee happens. Okay, this is a 100-ton mech, so you get a base damage of 100 points. The chassis quirks give you another 40 points, so that's a 140-point punch. Due to the, not one, but 2 Coventry Metalworks arm mods, one for the Moyammer muscles and the other ones for the wiring harness and ball bearings, add an additional 70 points of damage to a single punch. And then you're going to follow that up with not 1, not 2, not even 3, but 4 point defense ER small lasers. Brah. This thing just brings the pain at all ranges. Especially if it's direct fire. But wait. I got one more trick up my sleeve. Let's say it's the last battle mech on the field and you're just tired of it. You're over it. Let's finish this. And let's finish this in tremendous style. You can go for the death from above and land not 1 but 2 265 point kicks to the top half of a battle mech. And then when you come down, you are going to take damage to your legs. It's true. But because of the 15 point damage leg mod mitigation unit that I have installed, you're going to be taking less damage. It's going to be 30 points less overall. It's not a lot. I gotta admit, you're still taking 125 points of damage to each leg. But considering that you're going to be pumping out over 500 points of damage by landing, if you land both kicks, I mean, even other assault mechs will fear that coming in. But hey, it's just a thought. It's just how I built my battle mech. It's how I built my AS7-D-HT. Would you build it the same way? Or would you put in the medium pulse lasers and drop the jump jets and the leg mod? How else would you do it? By all means, please let me know in the comments section below. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. And I've been looking at my analytics. Most people who watch my video are not subscribed. So if you made it this far, why don't you do us both a favor and hit that subscribe button so that you can get notifications next time I release a video. At least you can find it easier. Or if you want to get immediate notifications the next time I go live, ring that bell icon so that you get the notification as soon as I release the video. But until next time, I've been Pestolents. This has been In the Bay. And until next time, good hunting, Mech Warriors.